My name is Evelyn. I am 27 years old. For most of my life, I believed I had a simple story. A loving father, a gentle mother, a quiet home in a peaceful suburban neighborhood. We were not rich, but we were stable. Every Sunday, my mother baked apple pie. Every Friday night, my father ordered pizza and insisted on watching old movies. I never questioned where I came from until the day I needed my birth certificate for a passport application. I was planning a small vacation with my fiancé, Mark. Nothing dramatic, just paperwork. But when I opened the old wooden drawer in my parents' bedroom, the one where important documents were kept, I noticed something strange. My birth certificate looked different. The hospital name was unfamiliar, and under Mother, there was a different name. Not my mother's. My heart started beating fast. At first, I thought it was a mistake, maybe a duplicate, maybe a clerical error. I walked into the kitchen where my mother was washing dishes. "Mom," I said carefully, "why does this document have another woman's name?" Her hands froze. The water kept running. For a long moment, she didn't turn around. Then she slowly closed the tap. "We hoped you would never find out like this," she whispered. "Find out what?" My father came home early that day. They both sat across from me at the dining table, the same table where we had celebrated every birthday. "You were adopted," my father said gently. The word echoed in my head. Adopted. No warning, no preparation, just truth. I felt like the ground beneath my childhood memories had cracked. "Why didn't you tell me?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. My mother's eyes were already full of tears. "We were afraid," she admitted. "Afraid you would feel different. Afraid you would search for someone else and leave us." Leave them? They were my parents, weren't they? That night, I couldn't sleep. Every memory replayed differently in my mind. Every argument, every moment, I felt different. Every time someone joked that I didn't look like them. Was I blind all these years? The next morning, I asked the question that had been growing inside me. Who is she? My biological mother. My parents exchanged a look. "She was very young," my father said. 17. She couldn't keep you. She wanted you to have stability. That sentence stayed with me. Wanted you to have stability. For days, I felt lost between gratitude and anger. My parents loved me. They raised me. But they hid my truth. Mark tried to comfort me. "They're still your parents," he said softly. I knew that. But identity is not that simple. If it's touching your heart, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to Silent Stories. Your support helps us continue bringing powerful emotional journeys like this. I couldn't ignore the curiosity anymore. With the little information I had, I searched. It wasn't easy. But eventually, I found a name connected to the hospital records. Her name was Clara Mitchell. She lived only 2 hours away. I stared at her social media profile for hours before gathering the courage to send a message. "Hi, I believe you might be connected to my birth." I almost deleted it, but I pressed send. She replied the next day. I've been waiting 27 years for this message. My hands trembled. We agreed to meet at a quiet cafe halfway between our towns. When I walked in, I knew it was her. Not because we looked identical, but because something in her eyes felt familiar. She stood up slowly. "You have my grandmother's smile," she whispered. I didn't know whether to hug her or stay distant. We sat down. She told me everything. How she was alone, how her parents forced her to choose adoption, how she never stopped thinking about me. "I didn't give you up because I didn't love you," she said. "I gave you up because I loved you too much to let you struggle with me." Tears ran down my face. For the first time, I saw the sacrifice behind the silence. But something surprised me. I didn't feel anger. I felt compassion. Tell us in the comments, what would you do in this situation? Would you search for your biological family or protect the life you already have? I visited her a few more times. We talked. We learned about each other. But something became clear. She was part of my origin, not my foundation. The people who stayed awake during my fevers, the people who attended every school performance, the people who taught me how to ride a bike, they were my parents. One evening, I returned home and found my adoptive parents sitting nervously in the living room. "We don't want to lose you," my mother whispered. That broke me. "You're not losing me," I said firmly. "You never did." I realized something important that night. Family is not built only by blood. It is built by presence, by sacrifice, by everyday love. I didn't replace my parents, and I didn't erase my biological mother. I expanded my understanding of where I came from. Months later, on my wedding day, something beautiful happened. I walked down the aisle. My father, the man who raised me, held my arm. In the front row, Clara sat quietly, not as a stranger, not as a replacement, but as a chapter of my story. When I reached the altar, I looked at both of them, and for the first time in my life, I felt complete, not divided, complete. Sometimes, truth does not destroy you. Sometimes, it rebuilds you in a stronger shape. I was not given away. I was loved in 2 different ways. And that realization changed everything.